Good morning, Predicted Trades family. Hope everybody's doing well. Let's dive right into prep here. So we can see overnight, we've just been bouncing off of our beast levels, dealing with a little bit of a gap down, not surprising. And on Friday, we opened down in our outer shaded region, made a nice press up all day to the purple hash line, almost to the outer shaded region to the upside. Looking at what we have coming this week, let's take a quick look at our economic calendar. Obviously a short week with MLK yesterday. Today we have a little bit of manufacturing data that just came out at 8:30. Tomorrow we have some retail sales, some producer price index PPI, and at 2 p.m. we have Beige Book tomorrow. A little bit of homes data around 10 a.m. Going into Thursday and Friday, we have jobless data, some more home data, and some manufacturing data on Thursday with Fed speaker as well. And then Friday, some more homes data at 10 a.m. and another Fed speaker at 1 p.m. It's a pretty light week as far as economic data coming out. Let's see, just taking a quick look into next week. We do have PMI on Tuesday, and then PCE on Friday. That'll be the big one. Excuse me. So, pretty light this week. PCE next week going to be the big one. Now let's load our normal prep settings. Come on, Toss, load that chart. So we can see on a daily chart over here that ES has had this trend line from the highs of last year, and we are basically knocking right on that door of testing that trend line from those highs today. Almost got there on Friday. We have in the overnight sorry. Yeah, it looks like that high wick from, Sunday night did test that line. We still want to keep an eye on that high wick as the upside target. And, we've had strong buying every day that has taken us up to this trend line. Even on Friday, when we got that, or had that slip pre-market, we held squeeze bottoms and right back up to the top. So overall, buyers still present. So we definitely want to manage our expectations as far as when we short right now up at these levels. So luckily going into open today, we do have a 30-minute and a 1-hour squeeze. And the bottom of those are around that 39.96 key level. So at the very least, looking for our pre-market lows, this psych level of 4,000 and 39.96 to be our support, just like it was overnight yesterday, right? So when we get into the cash session, if we do have a little dip, looking for those pre-market lows to hold 4,000, 39.96. If we can catch a bounce, if we do get down to test those and catch a bounce, or if we start to push, upside target first is that 40.20, 40.17 key zone above that we arrived to on Friday. We rejected it yesterday. So upside target is to get there to test, then to get up to our overnight highs from yesterday at 28, 40, 30, the next zone, and then past that 40.56 is the big key level. But we do have our trend line that we are testing. To get to 40.56, we will have to fully break out of that trend line. If we do start to lose that 39.96, we are pretty much kind of rejecting this trend line, and we need to start targeting the moving averages below. The 200 is the first MA, down at 39.84. The daily 8, down at 39.66. The daily 50, daily 21, sitting down at 39.32-ish. So should we start to break down below 4,000 and fire this 1 hour squeeze down, we do have a 4 hour squeeze bottom right down with that daily 8. So those will be the targets that we want to watch for if we do start to slip. Well, let's see if we can hold, start to break through this trend line, and get up to 40.56 and beyond on ES. Let's go to NQ. And one thing to note on ES here is my chart with the 45 EMA from every intraday time frame. And you can see the overnight is trying to hold up to that 1 hour time frame. Or at the very least, 1 hour. So if we start to lose that 45 MA, we would want to target down to that 39.96. That's where we will test the 2 hour. And then beyond that, the 4 hour 45 is down at that 39.61. So if buyers can remain in control and start to push us, they'll push us off of this blue MA here around 4,005 to try to continue up to Friday's highs and the overnight highs. If we start to lose this 1 hour MA, then just like we covered key levels, 39.96 is where the next MA is, and that 39.61 is where the 4 hour 45 sits down at the bottom of the 4 hour squeeze. So let's see if these MAs can hold us up and have us push higher, or if we start to lose these MAs, then we target the next one. Looking at NQ. You can basically draw in a zone of support from yesterday's pre-market lows or overnight lows to today's overnight lows. Basically looking for us to hold right around that 11,500 with this key level 491 just below that 500, just like we have 39.96 just below 4,000. So looking for this zone to hold and for us to try to hold above 11,500 on NQ. If we can hold and start to push, looking to get through 11,600 and continue up to that 11,677 up at the top of the 4 hour squeeze. It's also the top of a daily squeeze that's starting to form. If we start to lose that 500, then we want to target 435 where the daily 50 sits, 400 where the daily 8 sits, and 300 where the daily 21 sits, down near the bottom of this 4-hour squeeze bottom. So we've got our targets to the downside, targets to the upside for NQ. Moving on to Ruddy. Good morning, Miss Reed. Nice to see you. Come on, don't take forever to load charts today, Toss. So yeah, on every index, we want to watch, the overnight lows in the last 2 days for support at the bottom of the squeeze. So overall, excuse me for a sec. So overall, looking forward, that 1885 to try to hold up in the bottom of the squeeze, 1888, just a little 3-point zone of support there at the bottom of the squeeze. If we can hold, looking to push up to try to get to 1900, back to Friday's high, and then maybe push beyond to the top of this 2-day squeeze up at 1915. But 1900 is very key. If we reject, come back and start to lose that 1885, then we want to target back to this zone that bounced us on Friday at 1865, 1870, with a daily 8 sitting as the first MA below us at 1850. The 200 at 1830, the 21 and 50 down at 1820. So just some downside targets if we do start to see a bit of a rug pull this week while we test trend lines from highs of the last year. So on YM, let's see if we can hold up to this 34,250 at the bottom of this 2-hour squeeze. As long as we can hold above that 250, 34,250, looking for us to try to bounce back up to test pre-market highs and to get back to yesterday and Friday's highs near 34,450, maybe up to this 34,500 psych level, kind of where, which is close to where we topped out Sunday night. If we can continue past 34,500, we want to target 34,700, 750. But if we start to lose that at the bottom of the squeeze, this 34,250, and fire this 2-hour squeeze down, then we want to target back to 34,000 where the daily 8 sits at the bottom of the 4-hour squeeze. The rest of the MAs sit down below that 34,000 at like 750 and 650. So let's see if they're going to give us a dip today to get down to 4-hour squeeze bottoms, which sets up longs for the rest of the week if we hold. Or let's see if we're going to hold at the closer target, the 2-hour squeeze bottom, and start to rally up and set new highs. Now let's just hit some of the big names. Come on, load the chart. Come on, Tess. There we go. So Apple and tech at least looking strong this morning. We just looked at YM and it was kind of slipping down near its pre-market lows. So YM is a little weak right now. Tech, on the other hand, a little strong, trying to gap up while the rest of the market is kind of gapping down. And Apple is back at this 135, 136. So let's see if our first reaction this morning is to pop up and test those at the top of the 2-hour squeeze, which might set up for, mid-morning to midday, a slip back down to test pre-market lows, maybe fill this gap before continuing higher. So definitely keep an eye on that 136. If we can get going past that, 138, 138.8 in the daily 50, sit up above at 139.5. But if we can't get through this 2-hour squeeze top and start to roll over to lose 135, we want to target pre-market lows near 134. At the bottom of the 30-minute squeeze, if we start to give out 134, we want to target the zone below at 132.5, 133. And that 2-hour squeeze bottom back at the daily 8 at 131.70. Let's call it 132. Moving on. And while we wait on that to load, let me pull up earnings. There we go. Let me pull this over. Oh, that's the wrong thing. Pull this over. There we go. Yeah, man. So here's the earnings schedule for this week. We have, just like we talked about last week, a lot of banks reporting. Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, First Bank, Mercantile, yada yada, United. It's all happening this week for banks. Charles Schwab tomorrow. We have a little bit of airline travel as well in United. And I thought I saw some more this week. Either way, lots of banks, credit cards, yada yada, reporting this week. Procter & Gamble and Netflix, some big ones, healthcare and tech. And Netflix, basically the one big tech name this week. So, plenty to keep an eye on, see how they react in the finance sector to some of these bank earnings. Finance has been strong and part of our rally up. So, if we, have to see how the numbers come out and what the reaction is. But if we start to see finance take a break and start to sell off a little bit, we need to see rotation into something like tech, which has kind of been lagging a little bit, as the big tech earnings, are later this month and into February. So keep an eye that we could see rotation out of finance. We need to see it go over to something like tech that can be a heavy-weighted sector to continue us higher. We can continue higher even if finance takes a break or has some selling off if we see that rotation. Otherwise, we'll start to see a number of things sell off and have a little pullback. AMD getting up near a daily squeeze top. Let's see if we can hold above 70, get up to this 72.3 and 75. If we start to lose 70, you want to target back to these daily moving averages below. They span all the way down to that 65.5 key level. Amazon. Amazon remaining strong, printing new highs this morning over Friday. Basically looking to see if Amazon can get up to 100, 101.75-ish, and 104 and a quarter. Those are my next key levels above if we can break through 100. If we start to reject and come back, you want to keep an eye on 97 as potential support. It was resistance, it's a key level, and now that we're above it, we need to see 97 hold. If that gives out, then we want to target back down to 94. Friday's lows near 93, and the daily moving averages, which now are kind of straddled around 91 and 90. On to Google. NBA up to 214 on Friday, CAT to 260 almost. And on a number of individual names, we left POC behind below us. So if we do start to see some rejection of this trend line, some selling off this week, we need to be targeting the point of control on each name. And for instance, like on Google, it's back at 88.3. So back where these moving averages used to be. On Google, let's see if we can hold this 30-minute squeeze bottom around 91.5. If we start to lose that, going to 91, and if we lose that, then we're coming down to test the daily 21, daily 8, back at the bottom of this 4-hour squeeze, back at Friday and Thursday's lows. But if we can hold 91, 91.5, start to push, looking to get up to 92.5. Highs from Thursday, this daily 50, and then try to push up to 93.4 at the top of the daily squeeze. Moving on, JPN, or no, Meta. So in Meta, we're still trying to hold this trend line and approaching this 137. That was a key level that we've run into and resisted. So let's see if we can hold this trend line and pre-market lows to try to get up to test this 137 and 138 in an effort to get to 140. If we start to lose this trend line, pre-market lows, we want to target Friday's lows around that 134.5. If we start to lose that, we want to target down to the second trend line where the daily 8 sits and where we have our zone of support that sent us higher on Thursday, back at 132.5, 132. Microsoft. Made it up to about that 240, almost on Friday. And having a little gap down, back to the daily 21, back into your Friday's lows and near this squeeze bottom. So let's see if we have a dip first. If we start to lose pre-market lows, we're going to test Friday's lows and that daily 8, daily 15 at the bottom of this 2-hour squeeze, right around 234, 234.5. If we start to lose that, you want to target 232.86 and 230, pretty much. But if we can hold up, looking to try to push up to 240, 241, and then try to push beyond back to recent highs at 245 on Microsoft. Come on, Netflix. So on Netflix, got a tight little 30-minute squeeze that spans from 131 up to 134. So let's see if we can hold 131, get through 34, take out Friday's highs around 136.5 with the goal of getting up to 340. Sorry, 336.5 with the goal of getting to 340 up at the top of these squeezes. But if we reject and start to lose that 331, 330, we'll fire this 30-minute squeeze down to this 2-hour squeeze, which sits down at 325-ish, near Friday's lows. Should that give out, then back to the daily 8 in this zone of support that has held us all of last week at 321. Yeah, 321, 320-ish. On to NVIDIA. Alright, NVIDIA had a better move on Friday than say like AMD. We've got our daily 200 below. And Thursday's high to keep an eye on for support and a bounce if we do start to lose. Pre-market low, we want to target down to this 165, daily 200. Thursday's highs, Friday's midday lows. If we can hold 165 and get, or this 30-minute squeeze bottom, pre-market lows, and get going to the upside, looking to get to 170, push up through to 172, with the goal of getting up to 180 at the top of this 2-day squeeze. If we roll over and start to lose 165, then you want to target back to 160, 156.5, where the daily 21 sits. And POC at 142, way on down. Way back at all of this consolidation that bounced us a couple of weeks ago. So if we can't hold moving averages, then you want to start targeting POC on NVIDIA. QQQ. QQQ, just an ascending wedge here, right? Let's see if, about to open right at 280. See if we can hold pre-market lows around 279.5. If not, we're going to probably come to test this trend line and some of these bounce points, like here and here from Thursday and Friday, around this 278. Should we start giving that out, then it's back down to the daily 50 and down to the bottom of this 4-hour squeeze, 277 and 275. But if we can hold up above our trend line, our 30-minute squeeze bottom, and if buyers are in control, looking to get back up to Friday's highs, around that 281.2, up to the top of this 4-hour squeeze, 282-ish, with the goal of trying to get up to 285, next big key level. SPX. So SPX, held that squeeze bottom on Friday, then worked up to fill the gap. That's like your first trade. And then held up well with that daily Keltner. Pushed on back up to Friday's highs. Dealing with a tiny gap down. So let's just see if we can hold near Friday and Thursday's highs. Between 380 up to 3980 up to 4,000. So let's see, we're going to be opening a little bit below 4,000. See if we can hold 3980 and continue to push higher, trying to get through 4,000 up to 4020 and up to 4080 at the top of this 2-day squeeze. That would also be getting near the third Keltner. So, just kind of like on the market, can we get through this trend line from last year's highs? I could almost kind of expect a little bit of a get through and a green day. We might not get it today, but one good green candle through that trend line. And then they'll dump it back to test and to trap shorts before actually breaking out. So let's see if getting up to this 2-day squeeze top would give us that big green candle that breaks through. We would reject 2-day squeeze top, start to work our way back to moving averages in an attempt to go higher and actually break out. If we start to lose that daily 200 at 39.81, then we want to target back down to last week's lows and to this gap that we left behind at 39.20-ish, where the daily 50 is now pretty much sitting. Moving on to SPY. Oh my, SPY. Too many levels here. Overall, trying to hold right now at 397, 396.5. We can also see that we have some things lining up at that 396.5. In fact, I bet if we even through SPY right here, we'll see some of those 45 MAs sitting there. But looking for 396, 396.5, 397 to support us at the bottom of this 30-minute 1-hour squeeze near pre-market lows. So that's where our support sits. If we have a dip, looking for a bounce from there. With the goal of trying to get back through 398, 399, and 400. Last week's high is right around that 399. And yeah, goal of getting up above 400 to, this is a little zone, at 400.3, 400.5 at the top of that 4-hour squeeze. And yeah, our 2-day squeeze sits way up at 40.10. So we do have a little room to try to continue if buyers can remain in control. If we start to lose that 396.5, we want to target back down to 395.8, 395. Kind of the upper end of Friday after we get that push off the squeeze bottom. Below that 395, back down to Friday's lows, and this 392.66 key level at the bottom of the 4-hour squeeze. Moving on. Tesla. Having a little gap up and pretty much tagging our key level. Tesla made a good move the previous Friday, and then last week just kind of sat in this zone of consolidation between 116 up to 125, opening at the top of that zone. So let's see if we can get above this 126.5 early and start to push up to that daily 21 that sits at 130, and the next key level at 136.5. But if we start to reject these squeeze tops and slip back down, we want to target that 123 that we spent so much time at last week. 120 where the daily 8 sits, back to Friday's lows near 116, and that key level of 112.5 below. I believe from what I've seen that Elon is done selling, so it's been getting beat up, got down near that third Keltner, this hash line, and now making its way back to the mean. Let's see if we can get there, or if we're going to reject a key level and head back down for a big H on Tesla. And finally VIX, and we'll wrap this up. We've got about 20 minutes still open. Big thesis today. On Friday, buyers definitely took control. pushed us right back up to the top of our range in an attempt to get to this trend line from the highs of last year. So can we continue, get that full test, start to break through? Will buyers stay in control? Are sellers going to start to step in at this trend line like they have repeatedly and push us back down? VIX got all the way down to 18 on Friday. So I'm not surprised to see it gapping right back up to 20. And it does open up the door for, if buyers are going to step in again, we will see VIX start to push away from 20 and come back to fill this gap back to 19 and 18, back down to the bottom of this squeeze. But if we are going to reject this trend line from highs of last year and start to roll over, VIX is going to try to capitalize on these ups. We'll likely maybe see VIX leave the gaps behind, start to get through 20 above this daily 8, and then start to push its way back to the daily moving averages above at 21, 22, in an effort to get back up to 22.5, kind of the zone that we departed on Tuesday before heading down. So let's see if VIX can stay below 20, 20.25. Want to see that be resistance on VIX, send it back down to fill these gaps for us to move higher on the market. Otherwise, we'll start to see VIX pop and do its best to try to fight back to that 22.5 and these moving averages above. So that's it for prep today. Hopefully everybody found this helpful. Thank you for tuning in. If you did enjoy this little prep or any of our preps, it's always helpful to smash that like button. But good luck today, good luck this week, and we will see everybody in the chat.